Chief of Staff of AOC now that there's an opening. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is August 6th, and Dominic, of course, is Summersby. He's down at Casa Volpe having margaritas in Florida. But we have a full guest panel today. Our regular co-host, Darren Rigger, is here.
Hello.
He had to hurry back. He was applying for the job for AOC's Chief of Staff, but he got back here in time for the taping. Matt Slater, running for supervisor of the town of Yorktown, former right-hand man to State Senator Terrence Murphy, and of course Michael Grace, former Yorktown supervisor, running for County Legislature District 4, right? Mm-hmm. Which is one half of Yorktown, and then
Yorktown, Somers, and Newcastle, the entire town.
It's the capitalist district.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had called me this morning to say he wasn't going to make the show because he had a conflict. But apparently, being able to talk to you folks was so important that he moved his schedule, so he made it back, and I'm complimented that he's here.
Well, I didn't want to tell you where I actually was going to go, but because our friend Bruce Apar was in a play down in the city called Golden's Bridge. So I was trying to get, I had promised I would go down to see it, but it was sold out.
Oh, so if it wasn't sold out, to hell with my... I understand.
Bruce is your buddy, too.
Yes, when he talked to me. But...
we got his tail on it. He's doing the Henry Fonda show?
No, actually, I read a review on it. It was supposed to be pretty good. It's Golden's Bridge. It's about a couple that started a communist commune in Golden's Bridge, New York. And actually, if you look at the history up around here, there was a lot of communist communes in northern Westchester in the 40s and 50s.
Well, you got to remember, Bruce actually did go to Woodstock.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, he was actually at the original Woodstock. I mean, if you talk to people from my time, you'll find that there were more people at Woodstock than Woodstock at home. But actually, he's got the pictures
to prove it.
To prove he was actually at Sam Davis went to Woodstock.
And this is the 50th anniversary this week, right?
Yeah. But interesting, this guy did a play. It was in Shrub. Actually, excellent. It really was. It was well written, very well written. So this guy said, the playwright's actually pretty good, but it sounded really interesting. A guy did a review on it who was a ardent capitalist and free market guy, and he said it was but it's interesting, and it's actually very timely because, this whole move towards socialism, and these people, they're, as a ideal, in communal living of everybody contributing to whatever the best they could, only taking what they need. Only works on a very, 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 very small scale. Most families can't function that way, which they should. But, you're right.
Wait a second.
You're not supposed to keep score on your
the proof that
I agree, comrade.
the proof that socialism doesn't work was when the Pilgrims came here. The original compact they had was that they would all share everything, the workload and the bounty. Well, people in the group found out that they were going to get the same amount whether they worked or not, so they didn't do any of the work. And so there was a guy began with an H. I forgot his name, the head of the Pilgrims.
Harry.
No, last name was an H. I wrote about it in one of my columns a long time ago. And he developed a new contract where that people would grow what they wanted, they'd give some to the community, and they could sell the rest, trade with the natives and all that. Yeah. And that's how the first stirrings of capitalism on the shore, because the socialism didn't work. The people found out if I've got no reason to do anything.
No, it's interesting because...
Who was this, the Pilgrims?
Yes, that's how far back.
It's always doomed for failure, but I guess the idea of the play was that they had this couple that's very idealistic that tried, and actually this is based upon life experience, and it was common up through here. But they find out at the end of their lives that their legacy is dying because it just doesn't work. It's just, the whole thing starts to come apart for them. And I guess the idea was that they were very idealistic and purist in terms of their ideology, which just was a complete life, was a complete ideology was a
Wasn't the
failure.
Peekskill riots when Paul Robeson came up? Wasn't he meeting with communist groups?
He was
that were
accused to be a
okay.
communist. He was accused of being
I
a
think he was
communist.
open. I think he was open about it.
Well, I'm-
And
Well,
he was-
Mohegan Colony, I think, was a
Yeah,
was a
it was
communist.
communist.
life.
Yeah.
So it's
There was
kind
one
of-
there's a big one in Buchanan that was a kind of a.
So it's interesting, and it's what 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
But now they had that
There's also
social.
a lot of Jewish. A lot of,
They
a
had-
lot of-
Yeah.
a lot of people who worked at unions, labor.
The
Right,
reason why
yeah.
that socialist convention you were talking about made the news is because somebody went up to make a speech and he used the term
Guys.
guys.
Hey, guys.
And he was reprimanded for not
Excoriated.
using a gender by the little reprimanded by the people that
Yeah,
running
yeah,
the thing
yeah.
for not using a gender neutral term. And now you've got a
They were all triggered by it. Or something
right. They were
like
all
that.
trained. You've got a college.
Triggered. They're all triggered.
You got a
Absolutely. And we
And we
college.
thought it was a safe space.
You've got a college in California that has eliminated from all the material the term manhole. Can't be called a manhole. I think it was a covering. It's just called a covering. No, I mean, you Democrats have gotten off the wall.
Democrat. Well,
They're all
whoa,
Democrats.
whoa, whoa.
They're all Democrats.
I don't think so. That was a Democrat. That was a socialist convention.
Yeah. No, but
They're socialists in
I mean,
America.
What
look,
party
it's-
is AOC part of? What party is
Well, see, that's
Bernie
really interesting.
Sanders
So
part of?
here's the problem in New York State, right? And I've been open about. I think that we should not allow what do they call those, where you could run on working family and Democratic
Yeah,
Socialist
fusion voting.
'Cause
I've
really,
never been in favor
it
of that.
wreaks
I agree
havoc.
with that.
It wreaks havoc, and I know that the Republicans on Long Island have spoken out against it because sometimes they'll have a fight with the Conservative Party.
Oh, yeah.
And so the Conservative Party will say, we're not going to cross-endorse if you don't go with our candidate. So there's this kind of outside influence pressure.
It's a tail
Working
wagging the
Family
door.
Party is an abomination right now. They're not a real party. They don't run candidates. They don't pretend to run candidates. They don't pass petitions. They're basically just a for hire, because you have to pay them. They're for hire, grassroots, get out the vote
Yeah,
organization.
no, there's some minor parties that have made a very good living. Their leadership a very good
Independents.
living.
Independence Party.
being mercenaries and
Yeah.
And but the look, a lot of candidates,
So what constitutes a political party? That's the interesting thing. Like here in the state of New York, if you're not running candidates, if you're not
Right,
trying to
right.
pass petitions, like how are you a party?
That's your most basic function.
That should be the most
That's the most basic
function.
But you were
Get
up
people
in
in.
Albany. They wouldn't go near something like that with a 10-foot pole, would they?
Well, you had the discussion. There's a commission that's exploring it now. But obviously you
But
start
is
getting...
that just a show commission? You've been up there.
Yeah.
Is that a show commission, or do you think they're really serious?
The way that I've heard it is they're pretty serious. Pretty serious about it. I know that there are some statewide leaders who are very nervous about the fact that they're going to end fusion voting. And they're making their phone calls and,
well,
and
this
they're wrangling.
is the consolidation of power in the Democratic Party for them, right?
It's not just the Democratic Party, though. I mean, you've got the Conservative Party and the Republican Party. You've got the Independence
Right,
Party.
right.
But now you've got two new parties on the ballot this year. You've got the Serve America Party.
What's that?
It's the SAM party that came out of it was Stephanie Miner, the Syracuse mayor, and
that's
Volpe,
right.
the Pelham mayor, and they got 50,000 votes, and now they're on the ballot as a major party this year. Yeah, and the same with
got
the
50,000 votes.
same with the Libertarian Party, and they're so you've got this dynamic that people.
Yeah,
have
what
to
happened to
balance
reform?
Reform did not get the 50,000 votes it needed.
But they
So-
devolved in something else.
Well, they went from Stop Common Core, which was their original party,
Right.
and then they transformed themselves into the Reform Party. And same with Women's Equality. The Women's Equality Party, which was its counter, so to say, and the Women's Equality Party fell off the ballot this past year because you need 50,000 votes in a gubernatorial election to constitute yourself as a major party.
And they couldn't
So,
do it.
being that all you guys have run for office, have been in politics a long time, do you think they should keep fusion voting? Just your own opinions on this. I mean, I'm not saying go out.
I would get rid of it. I think that
I don't know. I ran, I think 3 elections on one line. So that was it.
Yeah.
That was every.
I know that.
The only time I lost was I had more than one line. So.
It's kiss of death. Once they thought they'd get you, then.
So I don't know. It's
Yeah, but weren't you freer by running only one line? Didn't it make you feel freer?
I always thought, if you're going to do this, you got to have fun, and by that I mean you have to do it for purpose and belief. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is that the being in politics, there is a temptation to basically, for lack of a better expression, if I should use it, whore yourself. And that's not a good thing. And I think a lot of it, a lot of the politics these days is exactly that. And it's a shame because we all suffer from it. I mean, there can't be any honesty in anything. You can't give your other side credit, and you have to try to take advantage of every little what you think is a hiccup or what can be translated as a hiccup.
It's gotcha politics.
And
Just gotcha.
And it's just, I find it completely and utterly distressing. It's funny. I'll give you an example. Just today, I got, I'm very pro-life. So my firm has sued the state on the Reproductive Health Act, and I think we've got a very good case. Regardless, I see that Kevin Byrne is being honored by the Westchester Putnam Right to Life
Party. Yep.
And
Who's Kevin Byrne?
He's the
State
assemblyman.
Assemblyman from my part of town.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yorktown.
So there's a letter. There's a letter written by somebody, and it's obviously somebody that's a proponent, an abortion proponent, and they're criticizing Kevin Byrne for disseminating misinformation in regard to the RHA. And you read the letter, and you're thinking, I'm curious as to what the argument is, and everything the woman argues is complete misinformation. So it's what they did is they repealed the part of the health law that required a second physician to be in the room after 20 weeks. And she's saying, well, this is ridiculous. This just adds to the expense of abortion, and so therefore, burdens the access to abortion. And Byrne knows that. And doctors don't do abortions without a whole cadre of medical professionals around them.
Yeah, but now it doesn't have to be a doctor.
What the damn woman misses is that the second physician in the room is not for the protection of the mother's health. The second physician in the room after 20 weeks is just in case the pesky little thing survives the procedure, and then now and everybody in that room is in conflict of interest with that human being living. They all want it dead, so they completely failed in their procedure. So the second physician's in the room not for the woman's protection, it's for the child that survives the abortion's protection. So this woman is going on about about how it burdens the woman that financially because it's an extra hospital bill, when actually the law decided to say, wait a second, there's a second human recognized, maybe not consciously but certainly subconsciously recognized there's a second person involved in this procedure that may actually need medical care once it's born. So so the disinformation is not Kevin Byrne. It's the woman who supposedly...
Well, wait a second. I just read in the news today, in an interview that Cuomo did, that now he's in favor of assisted suicide.
Well, it's all still supposed...
I mean, once you're willing to kill a baby in the 9th month, I said the assisted suicide has to be the natural extension.
Well, if you're not concerned about the most vulnerable, if you don't have a feeling for the sanctity of what we all should agree is life, and I guess you can have a debate about the first trimester, second trimester,
right.
But you can also have a debate about the geriatric that has bad Alzheimer's or dementia as to whether that's life. So the thing is, but once we haven't created a hard line for where we shouldn't go, everything is up for grabs, right? And the thing is that I don't mind you disagreeing with me, but don't jerk me around. In other words, if you recognize that it's life, but you just recognize it's not worth protecting.
Who are you to judge that, though? And I've never argued Roe versus Wade of the original Roe because I don't think it'll ever be overturned. I don't see it being overturned. I don't want its expansion, but I do, and I do know when they talk about that term, the slippery slope, that this was the natural thing. You saw it out. I watched the West Coast. And you see the stuff in Washington and Oregon, and it's going to creep over. It's like a cancer. It creeps over here. And then I see that Cuomo's polling is way down. And I said, then I see, well, now he's come out in favor of assisted suicide. So he's trying to shore up something in his base.
Did you see the
I
polling?
mean, think
Aaron,
about
did you
this.
see the polling?
You
What'd you
got
think of the
this
polling?
week. You got this week. De Blasio saying, Trump is not welcome in New York when he's no longer president. But the poll shows that Trump has got a 35% approval rating in New York. De Blasio's got 21.
Yeah.
Who's the one that's really not?
yeah.
And we're not talking a couple percentage points here.
My point is that you have to, it's like don't shy away from what you're proposing. So that if the woman sits there and goes, well, she thinks it's economic discrimination to have these other, that abortion would have to be performed in a hospital after 12 weeks, or which really is code word for, you know what? The Margaret Sanger used to, this was racially motivated abortion. So
Did
it's
you
like,
know that, Darren?
Oh, everybody knows that's the history of it. It's racist.
didn't know the
Yeah, it's
history of
supposed to be.
abortion?
So if it's economic discrimination means that the lower class, those people that we really don't want reproducing, are not going to be able to get access to abortion.
I don't know the history of it. I
you
can't
know,
tell you
and
this.
it was just- it's bizarre.
Andy and I always gets upset when I tell him that politics now, local politics, very often gets nationalized. And I know it drives him crazy.
Well, now it's
We'll,
all.
we'll
that's
say
all
to
it is.
someone, "Oh, he's a Trump Republican,"
Yeah.
or
He
try to hang.
was pulling my chain the other day in the car on that.
But I was on this show with you, and you said that 17, I think it was back a couple of years ago, you said the easiest thing for us to do in 17 was to call up somebody and say, you want to
Trump
get back to
Republican.
Trump?
Yep.
Vote Democrat.
And I honestly think it's still that's still out there. But going back to the nationalization, when I was door knocking for Peekskill City Council, I would have people ask me, am I pro-choice or pro-life?
Yeah.
Now I'm pro-choice Democrat, and I would answer the question. But I was asked, what do I think about gay marriage? What
Right.
do I think about the
Right.
war? What do I think about
Right.
Afghanistan? and
All
bringing
things
home
you have
troops?
no control
Nobody
over.
And
cares
it's
about this-
hilarious
no
because I'm
control over
like,
it.
I know that some people, Andy, all the time always says, oh, don't try to nationalize this. What does Trump have to do with getting the roads done in Peekskill? But the voters are, that's how they think.
But you know what's
You-
interesting though?
if
they think like
But you know
that.
what's interesting though? I've been knocking on doors since March. I've gotten 2.
Well,
2 Trump questions. That's it. Which is very drastically different than last year, 2
Yeah.
years ago, right? I've gotten 2. And one of them was an absolute anti-Trump, I don't want to hear it. You're either against them and with me or just walk
that's
away,
it, yeah.
right? And the other guy walked out and handed out pocket knives with Trump on it. Like, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. But those are the only 2 people who
See,
he's got
engaged in
pocket knives.
conversation.
when
He's
I'm
got
walking-
pocket knives with Trump on it.
Yeah, seriously. Make America great. I was like, oh.
when I'm walking, everything is there's no discussion about anything local whatsoever.
No, but
It's all.
But the other thing I hear though is
politics
it's
controlling
all
everything.
it's all AOC, Omar, and Cuomo.
Yeah.
Those are the three things I hear the most about.
Well, you're running for a seat in government that nobody knows what the hell they're really doing, except raising the sales tax.
And I don't know what I'm doing either.
No. No, I mean,
No, I didn't, but you're right. No, it's funny. I go to Starbucks. I get my coffee, and it's like I know what I get my venti bold, and I always hand her $3. I only get 15 cents back, and I always know because then I have my rest of my change to buy the Post when I go across the street. So I get 13 cents back, and I said, "Oh, do you raise the prices?" And she goes, "No, you don't. You take
Sales tax.
Sales tax."
But what bothers me,
The new
Yeah.
sales
well, what
Yeah, that's
bothers
what
me
they've done
is the
anyway.
request for that was voted on unanimously by the Board of Legislatures. So that means at least 5 Republicans voted to raise the sales tax.
Look,
Yes.
this poor gentleman at the end is going to understand it very viscerally when by next year. The thing is they basically bought all the town supervisors because they
100% what they did.
because there's revenue coming in. So Yorktown's got probably more money, better balance sheet than the county does at this point. So and the leadership that has no clue as to what they're doing. I've never seen a situation where you got a government entity completely and utterly flush. I mean, beyond flush. We actually
Yorktown.
Yeah.
Yorktown. We actually brought in a financial municipal
our
advisor to figure
finances-
out what to do with all our money.
Yeah, Yorktown's finances are in great shape. They're in great shape, and that really needs all to be attributed to Michael
Oh, yeah,
and his
we-
foresight and ability to get it done.
now they got even more
He
money.
said he's going to spend it all.
Well, you either
Only
got-
half of it.
Only
Well,
like a drunk guy
Yeah,
in
but he
Vegas.
said on MAGA hats. He's going to spend it all on MAGA hats.
Pocket knives.
Oh, MAGA hats even better, yeah.
But you're in a situation where there is, you could actually create a stable tax environment for Yorktown for 10 to 15 years, plus provide all the infrastructure that you need. Easily done. And the thing is, but you got a leadership that sits there and has no. They really are.
So you guys are doing
absolutely
0% tax increases every year?
Well, they
or-
no, they
raised it- they
They
raised them.
actually they're raising stuff, and they don't have no idea what they do.
But
it's
why
a-
would they? Why would they?
It's the same thing with
Exactly.
you can't there's not a, and I used to say this all the time, there's not a governmental body anywhere that where they're rejecting more money. I had a funny interview with congratulations on your New York, the conservation.
League Conservation Voters, yep.
I
Oh,
had,
great! It's a good endorsement.
Yeah.
So they asked me.
Yeah,
They
I
asked,
shared it on Facebook.
Thank you,
they-
sir.
they-
What are you, a hippie?
No, I actually believe in climate change.
So they asked me a question about the plastic paper bags and stuff like that, and I guess the scheme was that the plastic's going to be gone away with, and they're going to pay
Right.
the nickel on deposit on the paper, and the nickel was supposed to go to the proprietor of the business. But New York State decided, well, you know what, we're better off with the nickel than somebody else's, so they're taking the nickel. And
Is that what
kinda-
happened with the cans?
Yeah.
The bigger,
So
the bigger, better bottle
The
bill.
guy wants to know what I think of it. I'm laughing. I said, "You got to be kidding me! You got to be kidding me! When does this big black sucking hole finally get satisfied? When do they finally stop picking the pocket and it's death by 1,000 cuts?
Yeah.
And they don't understand it. If you go and I've done fairly well in my life, but you know what? I can't get ahead of it. You cannot get ahead of it. And I get I get annoyed that I guess I get this guy David McKay Wilson that haunts me all the time about I sit there. You live life long enough and hard
Who's
enough.
he?
He's a supposed reporter for the Low HUD or whatever it is.
Right.
Journal News.
Journal News.
Yeah. But you sit there.
Well, you're really fishing for that endorsement, huh?
Yeah. So you sit there. It's absolutely amazing that you cannot live life in any full manner without going through it scarred. Either emotionally, right, financially, physically, in some way. You can live a safe life, but that you're not going to, if you live a bold life, that's what happens.
Right.
And the thing is that to them is worthy of fodder for criticism of your character. And I sit there and say, screw you. Because, you walk in my shoes, do the things, live, you want to criticize me. Look, I'll give you there's a lot to criticize on me, I got a lot of views that people say, hey, you can have a lot of fun with. Not my character, or not feigned character flaws, but that's politics these days.
Yeah.
And it really is an absolute shame, because you can have great discussions about really good, sexy stuff. But,
it was really funny. When I was running, I got advice one time from George Latimer. Before he was county executive, he was just, I think he was state senator.
Senator, yeah.
State senator. And he said to me, one of the hardest things about running for office is you're sitting there in front of the train, and you're trying to hand out your little leaflet and introduce yourself to as many people as possible, as quickly as possible. And inevitably, someone's going to walk up to you and say something completely wrong. Like he's going to say something like, they're going to say something like, you raised my school taxes.
Yeah.
Now, you have that moment that you can try to explain to them the separation between school taxes, city taxes, government taxes.
Not in 15
or
seconds.
you could suck it up.
Give him a real short answer.
Suck it up,
Oh, yeah, you could give him a real short answer.
wish them well, and move on to the next voter.
Yeah, right.
And he says, and it's hard, and it takes a lot to try to figure out where
Listen,
to.
it has been such an experience coming from what you and I have both done for so long, and stepping up and actually being the candidate. You and I talked about this a few months ago. It has been such an eye-opening an incredible experience, both good and the bad. I mean, because there's days where I just want to scream like Mike, because just people are saying things. Oh, you said this. And I had one person on Facebook saying I said I wanted to fire the staff, and I'm like, point to me where I ever said that. And I'm sorry, I wasn't going to let that go because I never said I was going to fire.
Well, that's a big one.
the staff of the town hall. Like, come on. And but at the same time, like if you just focus on, like Mike said, having fun, and finding the commonalities among people. You can disagree with someone 9 out of 10 times, but you find that one thing that you both are really passionate about.
Yeah.
You can make some real magic. And I think we're spending more time focused on those things rather than the things that
was Kaplowitz's charm. He found out
that's what it should be.
Where they agreed and at least got that stuff done.
But
you hated him for it.
But
you hated him.
But he
for
was
it.
ostracized for.
Right, he did.
First of all, I don't hate anybody.
No, okay, I take that back. You
No,
just
but Andy,
didn't
you know what
call him
that
a
is?
Democrat.
We drew all the lines of Northern Westchester to help him get reelected, and then he turned around and caucused with the Republican Party. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because,
Look, you know what?
because he was the chairman of the board. That's everybody.
But-
No,
But
he
you know what it is?
became
It's that
chairman because of the mechanism.
But
you know,
he's a public servant. Listen, Mike and I didn't agree on a lot of things. A lot of things.
Yeah.
And we butted heads on a lot of things. We went to war in 2011. We went to war for that seat because I was helping Terrence Murphy at the time. But I got to tell you, I have so much respect for Mike Kaplowitz because I think Mike is the example of a public servant. I really do. And I know politics can pull you in different directions, and I hear what you're saying. He should have stuck with us. He went to the other side. I understand that.
There's a part of that. I mean, there's some. If you're gonna run a party, you're gonna have to have a certain amount of loyalty. So your foot soldiers have to be able to. You have to keep them in line. But there also is, as a candidate, and that's a natural friction.
Yeah.
As a candidate, you either got, you don't. There's things that are not worth. There's things that you can compromise on. Things that you really. You know what? You
got to dig your heels in.
And you have to, as a candidate, you got. That's a big difference. As a candidate, you got to make a decision. Do you actually?
That guy, Senator Peralta in
Jose,
New York City,
Yeah.
right? He joined the IDC.
Yeah.
And he at the one when it was spiraling out of control, he finally just blurted it all out because they were like, "Why? Like, why'd you do it? Was it for some? Were you able to pass some bill that you never thought you were going to be able to pass? And then you joined the IDC, and he's like." I got a bigger office, I got Lulu's and more money, and I got an SUV and driver. And it was like that raw.
Okay, we're running out of time here.
But it's interesting. But that's the whole idea with politics these days. It's not issues. It's not truth. It's not healthy debate. It's all a whole.
But that's what's
mound of-
wrong with politics. Let's get back to the commonalities.
But
Let's get back to getting
we're
things
going to
done.
be running out of time here, and I'm still not sure how long the studio is going to be open, so I don't know if you guys are going to be back or not. But we've had you in numerous shows now.
They're closing
year.
up on you?
Yeah, they can close.
Eventually, they're going to do it without notice.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I got my dates booked, and of course I'll call you guys when I know for sure what's going on. But the fact is, there's going to be 1 month, and the next 2 you guys are going to be here because I got to do the Peekskill Democrats for Darren because we are also shown in Peekskill.
Yeah.
So I got to get them here.
Yeah,
I may take that
it's
time.
fine. No, I mean, look.
But I'm glad you guys
We
have
don't have
been
any
here.
races in Peekskill.
I hope you've had a good. I hope you've had a good
It's
time.
been great.
This is not a racist town.